Hello and welcome back to the Lee Summit Town Hall podcast. I am your host, Nick Parker. Back with me today, Jason Norbury.
Hey, what's going on?
He returns. We've had a little bit of a break. Listen, I know you people that have already been through this, and this is my first and only time, but the end of a school year when your kid is graduating just gets a little bit nutty.
It is utter chaos.
Life is already chaotic, I feel. But you throw in graduation time and it's just nuts, and I have had trouble keeping up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is hard to stay on top of things. And hey, let's give you a little bit of credit. At least your priorities in order. You are focusing on your child's graduation and not like this podcast. So, I mean, really, in the end thing, I'm not saying that makes you a good parent, but it makes you at least like not.
Let's not go that far.
You're not actively neglecting your duties, and that's something to be.
And
said
graduation happened. Big kudos to Lee Summit High School. I'm assuming that all of their graduations for the district were the same, but man, it was like an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, that's nice. They got it. They get it in, done, tight, and out the door.
It was a great ceremony, and it was efficient.
Well, that is fantastic.
You know me. When it comes to a meeting, I like an efficient meeting.
Let's get that going. Let's get through that agenda.
No, that was good. That was fun. I've told a few people this. I think, more weirded out by my child being 18 and graduating than by the prospect of me turning 50 in a couple months.
I mean, yeah, I can see it. It's a big, graduating high school is a big change. And I know here in this community where I think the expectation is for the median student to go on to have a college degree and what have you. High school is not like the end of the education road or the end of the parenting road or any of those sorts of things, but it's a big moment. And you know, that's an important thing. And it's a big change. Your son is 18, a legal adult, a high school graduate, all of these things.
He just voted for the first time.
He just voted. I mean, so there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there that, look, old dudes like us who don't like change, not ready for it. Right. Just not ready for it.
It's also a nice moment to reflect with the spouse. Wow, he's 18, he graduated, and we didn't mess him up too bad.
Not too bad yet. There's still time.
I mean, there's time.
There's time.
We can still do it.
There might be some hidden issues that have yet to raise their heads, and you'll see how you feel about that then.
Now seems like a good time to remind the people that this podcast is brought to you by the good folk at Budget Blinds of Lee Summit.
Budget Blinds!
This is really the only reason I asked you back on the podcast.
Missed?
I just missed somebody yelling Budget Blinds.
You missed the Budget Blinds.
Budget Blinds is your home for signature, series, shades. Also, your home for just really anything you want in your home. Home decor stuff. It's awesome. You want your shades, your window treatments. They've got all sorts of other stuff. I've mentioned this before. I even have a throw pillow that I got to design at Budget Blinds, and they printed the material and made it for me. Pretty awesome. And Jason, we've talked about this before. You want them smart features?
Mm-hmm.
You want to be able to talk to your watch or your smart speaker or whatever and say, hey, open the shades? You got to go to Budget Blinds for that.
They got you covered. All hail those robot shade overlords.
There we go. When you're ready to make your home a smart home or just, a beautiful home, go see our friends at Budget Blinds of Lee Summit. Tell them Nick sent you. Jason, a little sporadic stuff today. I want to cover a few different things in today's episode. First, some excitement. I think this is excitement for the community, and also, personally, I think a little bit for us, right? This is something we've talked about for a long time. We're going to talk about what's happening over on Green Street and kind of a little update on the new market construction that's happening there. There's some big things going on.
There is some big stuff going on. In fact, I drove by this just as we do regularly, but for whatever reason that I drove by it and I looked, I'm like, oh, wow, that's a lot of stuff happening and what have you. And then my lovely wife and I were downtown this last weekend, just wandering around, having an ice cream, and we walked across the south side there right at 3rd and Green and took a few minutes to kind of take it all in. And my wife asked a few questions about what was going on and what have you. And it's really, I think it's very impressive. It's a nice execution to a project that is so very long in coming.
So very, very long. Look, it's really cool. So part of the canopy that goes over the outdoor performance space is now attached to, is that the right word? I don't know.
Yeah. Construction word
goes here. So that canopy is finally getting finished. They're really just working on the interior of the building for the actual farmers market that's going to go in there. No actual public date yet for the first, but the first market will be there and will open in August. So just a couple of months away, Jason. From that, and I mean,
I'm very excited.
This is something your volunteerism and work with downtown Main Street goes prior to when I started in there. This is something that's been talked about for such a long time, and you were in on some of those original discussions and planning meetings. It's got to be kind of fun for you now.
It is. I tell you, so way back when I was on the original version of the Downtown CID board, and Brad Culbertson, who, by the way, deserves a statue in front of this place, to be honest.
I was lobbying to name a building after him.
Now, Brad will tell you never, 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 but as a whole, he is so instrumental in getting the CID done, pushing through this, being so central to the community and what have you with all that.
Fantastic building owner in downtown for a long time.
All the things. So I just want to make sure we got to give Brad Culbertson his flowers on this process and make sure that he is actively appreciated for what we have. But we started this. What the original vote was? What, 2013 was it?
Feels like that's right.
I
should have had that on hand, but
what kind of newsman are you? But but many years ago, and then there was a bunch of delays, and we got the CID started and going, and then there was this coming together with Main Street and the CID and the city to come together to pool resources to say, because everybody wanted this market to happen, right? Wanted a physical structure for a market to happen, and we tried to figure out how to do it. And
the people voted. They wanted that outdoor performance space.
They want that outdoor performance space, and so there was a lot of push to get those things together. And even then, it still took almost another, it felt like another decade on top of all of that to get through all of the bits and pieces that go along with that and get this thing to market. So a lot of credit to, just an immense number of people. Steve Arbo, Bill Baird, Mayor Rhodes, the prior councils, the current council that have really, sometimes hesitantly and sometimes embracingly taken this process and walked through it all. And I'm just so excited for there to be a really cool space. And I'll tell you the thing that I think that gets me the most is the way they've done in the design to integrate the market with the City Hall Plaza and shut that down to traffic and what have you, but make that just a huge, because they could have easily just slapped the market building up somewhere in that development, and then we would have been in. But they've taken the opportunity and the investment to turn this whole thing into a thing, and so it's really going to become a major anchor point in downtown, adding yet another cool thing downtown, but a major anchor point where you can do events, and you can do the market will be there, and all these sorts of things can happen all the time. And it's really going to be an interesting center point. And I'm interested to see how, events like Downtown Days and the Oktoberfest and any other
Mayor's tree lighting
that how they're going to integrate that, stuff's going to move there, how things going to be centered there, what parts of those events are going to be there and not, I think is going to be a really nice change to that. And, the parking lot will be full a lot more than it is now. So that'll be great as well. So no, I am super excited. I'm super excited for that integrated piece. And I'm really excited to see the plaque thanking me personally for my place in this whole process.
You're going to wait a long time.
I'm going to hold my breath for it, I promise.
A long time for that. I think you are spot on that the way they've integrated the whole area really, I think, is what's going to make this such a statement for not just that historic downtown district, but for the community as a whole by putting all of that together. And then I'm excited to see what happens next, right? So the performance space and the farmers market, that's just phase one. That's the public stuff that we voted on that we wanted, right?
Right.
There's a whole lot more that's going to be done through private development all around there that I think has the opportunity to be really, really cool and just continue the growth of this area.
And I think it one of the things most downtowns really have a hard time with is physical, you can never get bigger in a flat, taking up more ground, right, than you have, because downtowns tend to be kind of locked in. Well, this is one of those opportunities to really utilize a patch of ground that was unutilized as downtown space and turning this entire city block into downtown space where it wasn't before. And that's a rare opportunity. And we should be really happy to do that. And so they have a chance with, the residential and the commercial development or whatever they're going to do in those places to really amplify, magnify that benefit to the space.
One other thing I want to note, if you get a chance, folks, walk on down there. If you've seen those early renderings of what they wanted it to look like, you've noticed that these big archways, and they're lovingly calling them wickets, like it's a giant croquet set, right? But they are installing those wickets, those archways now in the path that as you go from like the corner of 3rd and Green and you walk through the City Hall Plaza into the area, you're going to walk through these cool decorative arches. So it's going to look cool. It's very playful. I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited to see it.
I'm shocked that you are excited about public art.
I like fancy looking things. All right, Jason, I'm going to switch gears on you now.
All right.
That was some excitement.
Are we as excited about this as the prior news? Information?
You know what? It's a different kind of excitement.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
I'll give you that.
Because, look, we started this podcast way back when, 2016. And we started it during an election. And so we have talked about these over and over and over. But one thing we always say is we want to make sure that every local race is contested, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want there to be a choice for the people. Well, here it is, folks. We're a year out.
and to be clear,
for the mayoral race,
we are a year out.
And we have, filing hasn't happened, obviously. But both Cynda Rader, a local business owner and real estate professional, and Beto Lopez, who is the current mayor pro tem and member of the city council, they have both announced their intent to run for mayor the next go round. So we're going to have a race.
We're going to have a race. And I think that'll be interesting on a couple of fronts. It'll be interesting, one, to it's going to be great to have a race so that there are things to talk about these sorts of things. And hopefully we'll be able to engage with both candidates at some point to help hone in on some of those differences and how things are, how they want to continue to make things good in this town. And secondly, it might be interesting to see how that impacts the interactions at the council level. Now, I will say that as a whole, the council has been very good working together, even when they disagree. They've been very functional. They have not been dysfunctional in quite a strong time. And it's another sort of kudos to the mayor for bringing that about in some form or another over these years. And it'll be interesting to see when you have that, like when they have two people sort of eyeing his seat, as it were,
right?
Like how that interacts. So like where will there be spots during that Cynda or Beto or both, right, attempt to differentiate themselves from the mayor, from the council, or from each other as they go through that. And it'll be interesting to kind of see how that goes, because I think, the status quo has been all right here in this town for quite some time, which is a testament to the council, but also to the city staff. And when you're trying to get things, when you're trying to gin up votes, sometimes you want to make things sound maybe worse or more hyperbolic than they are. And it'll be interesting to see what the points that they pick to differentiate themselves as being the next steward of the council going forward.
Right, and I think that's going to be the interesting thing to watch for. Cynda is a relative newcomer to the council, so she hasn't really done a lot yet to stand out, right? To let us know that individual personality as an elected official. And Beto has served as long as Mayor Baird has, right? They were both elected for the first time together, and since then, Beto has been appointed each and every year by the mayor as the mayor pro tem. So a lot of what's happened goes alongside with what Mayor Baird has done as the leader of that body. So I think we'll be looking, what does Beto do to kind of separate himself a little bit, and what is he going to pin, try to pin for himself, as these are his own accomplishments, and then where is Cynda going to try to stand out?
And there's not going to be I don't unless one or both of the candidates take some truly breathtakingly unusual stances, there's not a huge amount of difference. I mean, the council has gotten along pretty good. Things are doing fine. The city is run fairly well. And there are always differences in, tone and style and what have you, but there's not a huge number of things out there. And so, like, what they pick to try to stand out on will be an interesting choice.
Well, and we talked about this the last when former council member Diane Forte and Mayor Baird ran against each other, and we had them, at our forum, right? Our public forum for the candidate debate. And we mentioned there wasn't a lot that separated the two as far as vision for the future, right? It was really more personality and approach to how they were going to get those things done. But they agreed on lots and lots of different things as far as what's the future of our community.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's a sign, I think, of a well-functioning, high-functioning city with a good staff and what have you, is that things are going along okay. I mean, we're providing services, we're doing things, the budget's managed.
We're opening that farmer's market.
We're opening a farmer's market building. All of those sorts of things are there. And so you are at the edges of those sorts of things. And then I think that, the risk you run there sometimes is perhaps over magnifying what the importance of those differences, or at least the subject matter of those differences in how things are going. So, hopefully we'll be able to kind of go along. We'll get little bits and pieces as we go. And then as we get into next spring, almost a year away from now, we'll be able to see that. Plus, I think the council seats that will be up, because, obviously Beto can't run again. A, term limits, and B, is running for mayor. And then the usual slate of the half of the council being up for re-election or election.
Right. And then will there be a third?
Yeah,
will there be other names, thrown into that hat, and how will that shape things? But it'll be interesting. I wanted to just note that hey, the race is in effect starting right now.
And it just, as a general rule, as a general whole, this seems so early. As I remember, back when we started, right, you didn't know who was running for mayor until like November of when filing type was in December. You didn't have people had ideas, but nobody said I'm running for mayor until like November of that year. So
you needed to.
And one of the changes that has taken place in the intervening 8 years or so is that now that this stuff starts a lot earlier, especially at the mayor level, but even at the city council level, people try to get out in front, try to catch some of the key endorsements of, police and fire.
And there's a lot more money being spent on these campaigns.
And there's a lot more money being spent.
And you need to,
perhaps you have to start earlier to go in and make sure that you have your share of that money.
Well, that wraps up that. I want to take some time here at the end.
This is less exciting.
This is not exciting. This is, I just want to take a moment to, I guess, think of some people, right? It's been a strange, I don't know, strange is the right word, but it's been a hard 40 to 60 days.
It's been a tough couple months
in the community. We have lost 4 pretty key members of our community. They've all been active in it. It started with the sudden passing of Andy Locke, the owner of 3rd Street Social, Pearl Tavern, all of those that he does. That just, I think, shocked everyone. And then right after that, Jody Fristo, who has been a part of this community basically her entire life and has been a fixture in the arts community
for the last decade.
For the last decade or so, and that was another just sudden blow. And then the downtown community lost a local business owner, Peggy Doughty, owner of Blue Heron. Shocking, tragic
and she's
accident.
She's been an owner down here for more than 20 years, or longer than 20 years. As long as I've been in Lee Summit, I've known Peggy, and I know our family took her passing really hard as well. And then finally, just this last week, passing of Brad Rackers, the theater director and teacher at Lee Summit West, and super involved with not only Summit Theater Group, but with the greater Kansas City theater community. And that has been a real blow, both at Lee Summit West, who's already had some troubles with a student passing from leukemia and other things going on. And then the local arts community has dealt yet another blow. It's been a hard month for this stuff. And it's, I think I don't say we've been spared a lot of that, but there has not been as many of those passings, especially in group like this, in a very long time. And it's, I know that there's been a lot of struggle, a lot of feelings going along with that.
And it's an opportunity, everybody, it makes you just think about the places those people were and the spots in the community that they held. And now, gaping holes in your soul too, right? With that, but also in the community. And there was my reporter, Cody Thorne, interviewed Becca Stabno, who's the president at Summit Theater Group, and talked to her. And she was just, the Q&As on Link to Lead Summit, but one of the things she was talking about is just having to decide, like, how do we move on? What do we do? How do we want to continue his legacy? We want to make sure we honor him, but how do we go forward without our friend?
Right. And I mean, and that's not even taking into account that, Brad was due to direct a show this summer.
Right.
And now he has a show and no director. And I mean, amongst other things, I mean, he was so tied into that group, so tied into the West Theater, that department, and those students. I mean, I knew a couple of seniors, at least some at West, and I know that their hearts are just, broken. They had just finished their classes and gone to graduations, and they were right in that and then like right after they graduated and had all their at the high point, right, they find out that this mentor of theirs was suddenly taken from them, and it's it's just heartbreaking to their families, to the people that they've affected, to the communities around. It's a really big hole to fill, not only just on a technical standpoint, like who's going to direct this show, but that those members of that board are going to be sitting in that room, and there's going to be this giant absence that they're not ready, that they have to like cope with, right? And the people working at Blue Heron, or just even downtown, right? I mean, just on a personal note, my wife is involved in a kitten rescue program, and Peggy was instrumental, and she has offered her space in their store to host events for us time and time and time again. And I don't think there's going to be any major change there, but that absence, right, that piece of that really integral piece of downtown, where not only was she down there as a central place for decades, but like her absence is going to leave so much
embedded in so many parts of the community. Mm-hmm. And same with Andy as a restaurateur, father of raised children in this district, right? Like just so many places that each of these people have touched lives and done their little bit to make our, we talk about it all the time. I know this sounds trite and cliche, but to make our community better.
Right.
Each and every one of them have done that. Jody was involved in the nonprofit world and the arts for a long time, and wanted nothing but to just get people to appreciate the arts and the artists.
Mm-hmm. And so, and that's the stuff that we all want to do, and we try to lift up on this show, right? These are the people that we want to lift up in the stuff that they're doing in the community. And, it's a disappointment that I know we've talked to some of these people before and what have you over various things, but like celebrating their role in the community, it would be nice to be able to do this if they were alive still. That'd be better. But in this case, we should at least raise up and appreciate not only what they've done, but and understand the hole they leave behind.
I looked for some old clips when this started, right? Like,
right.
Early on in the podcast, I had interviewed Andy Locke. Early on in the podcast is when I first met Brad Rackers and interviewed him. Jody has been on the show a couple times. I never got Peggy on the show.
That's unsurprising.
Yeah. If you know her, that's not shocking.
She's not going to want to be on the TV or the whatever.
No, but technical badness, I lost a lot of content that we created early on, but I did find it. I'm going to close the show with this. I'm going to play it's about a minute and a half long clip from Brad Rackers talking about when he won Teacher of the Year, and that's how I met him. And so I think just as we exit today, just hey, our thoughts, our hugs are with all of you that knew them and with the community, and take some time, give the people you love hugs. Do that. That'll wrap us up for this week. We'll talk to everybody next time. Here's Brad Rackers.
My Teacher of the Year speech was actually thanks to Laura Maxwell, who helps all of the teachers from Lead Summit as we go on through the Teacher of the Year process throughout the state. My Teacher of the Year speech was called The F Word. And Laura really helped me come up with that idea. And of course, it's funny in that it could be something else. But it's the idea that failure has become a bad word. We're so afraid of the fact that somebody could fail at something. But what we really come to realize is that failure is something all of us do all the time. The only way to really learn how to do something most of the time is to fail at it first and then try again. And I use the example of like theater or athletics or choir or any of those kinds of things. You have to be bad at it first because somebody then tells you how to be better at it. You use that educational leader to say, oh, okay, I want to be better at singing. I want to be better at dancing. I want to be better at football. and you take their advice and you keep doing it, and you keep failing, and that's the whole thing. Success comes from failure. If you're lucky enough to be the person who's just great at something at first, that's wonderful, but you still need to get better at it. You still, no one goes to the Olympics just on their own merit. They've had to have someone help them get there. And I think that's what I see the difference between success and failure. It's inextricably linked. They are the same thing in many ways. I said in my speech at the convocation this year, I said, failure is the first attempt in learning. It's not we can't do, it's that we just didn't do this time. And that's kind of how I see those two.